Big question, is academic freedom under threat in universities and education institutes? Is there space for anti-government dissent in universities? Are academics free to air their political opinions? Just some of the questions we'll raise. I'm joined by Pulapre Balakrishnan. He's an academician. He's also been associated with Ashoka University. Praveen Chakravarti is a political economist. He's associated with the Congress party. We should super him as head of the Congress's data analytics cell. So I'll tell my producer to do that. And Mohan Das Pai is chairman Areen Capital and Manipal Global Education. Appreciate your joining us, sir. I want to come to you, Mr. Balakrishnan, because you, in a way, I know you don't want to speak about the specific instance in Ashoka, but the wider question. Do you believe academics have the freedom to do research papers like a professor, young professor did in Ashoka, but found himself tangled in political controversy when he suggested that maybe some part of the 2019 poll was manipulated? Do you believe that Ashoka University or any university must give space to academics to air their views? Or do you believe there are codes of conduct for anyone, whether Unacademy, Ashoka or anywhere?
So long as a work does not involve defamation or hate speech and is purely intellectual in the sense of involved with the production of knowledge, I think it is admissible. For academic work, there is a standard procedure. People write papers, and if they want it published, they try to get it peer-reviewed. If it succeeds, you have to take the paper with a certain degree of confidence. If it doesn't find its way to a peer-reviewed journal, then the author is in some trouble. Or at least his argument doesn't go through.
No, so are you saying that if I am a academic, I write a research paper, as happened in the case of Ashoka, that paper then becomes tangled in political controversy because it is raising vexed political issues. If the academic cannot successfully defend his paper, is the university well within its rights to accuse him of partisanship or of not being, of his paper not being academically rigorous enough and ask him to leave? Or do you believe this should be part of healthy debate within campuses?
Absolutely. Let me just tell you, nobody has been asked to leave in the specific case that you are referring to. But yes, there should be healthy debate. These are issues related to the economy and the polity, and they should be discussed.
No, you're saying no one been asked to leave, but the individual concerned, Professor Das, has, we are told, quit the university, and many of the academics have protested against it, saying it's a violation of academic freedom. That you've got a research paper, allow the research paper to be discussed before you take any action, and why should you act on a research paper in the first instance?
Let me mention to you that first and foremost, that when I came on your show, I said that I'm coming here in my personal capacity as an economist and an academician. So please, I would request you to change the way you present my profile. I'm here only in my personal capacity. I want to emphasize that.
Okay.
So once again, the standard practice is people write papers. They are peer-reviewed. They are published. In some cases, when they are not peer-reviewed and they don't succeed in finding publication, then you decide that the individual has tried to fly a kite and it hasn't succeeded.
Right. The reason, Praveen Chakravarti, one of the reasons you're on the show is because you wrote an opinion piece today suggesting that you see this as those on governing boards of universities not being able to understand what a liberal arts campus is all about, where you allow a free flow of ideas, that the men in the suits do not seem to understand how the boots of teachers actually work. Now, India is not an American campus. Let's be honest, America's liberal campuses are very different from Indian liberal campuses. And Ashoka University is based in Haryana, BJP ruled. Unacademy is an online edu-tech site, but it is living in a world very different from what is in the United States. So are we trying to impose American standards of academic freedom in India?
Good evening. See, the first thing I want to clarify is the fact that we are discussing Ashoka University today tells us that it has become an institute of national importance and national pride. So we must give kudos to the founders and the management for having built such a credible institution in a short span of time. So they deserve that credit. Now, what I said in my piece today was there's this actually a clash of ethos and purpose between the suits that fund the university and the boots that run it, which is the faculty and the students. And the argument that I was making was, in this particular case, as someone who understands a little bit of data and elections and followed the 2019 elections, I can tell you the paper in question was hyperbolic in its findings, in its title. I mean, and I think had it been subjected to the natural process of the academic credibility market, the paper would have been called out on its own. By intervening, the governing body and the management distorted the entire debate and the narrative. And they intervened, perhaps because of political pressure, perhaps because they were bullied. And that is where I was trying to make the argument. Listen, it does not work like a corporate. The liberal arts universities, for them, the daily ritual is to say some things radical, is to put out opinions, is to clash. And the thought market decides it, as long as it does not disturb social peace and harmony. So in that context, why should the governing body intervene? And because they did that, we're having this discussion today because it has erupted into a big controversy.
You're speculating, of course, at the moment. There is no hard proof that they've been bullied. We don't know that. But while you're smiling, Mohandas Pai, the implication certainly will be that. The implication, just a minute. The implication, whether it's in Unacademy or in an Ashoka or indeed in your own state, the Indian Institute of Science, Tista Settle was disallowed from entering the gates to address the students.
Rajiv, please, let us not exaggerate these events to be an assault on economic freedom.
On academic freedom.
Professor spoke very clearly and said, look, a paper has to be peer-reviewed, then only it gets credibility, other they'll be flying a kite. I agree with the professor. In this case, this gentleman has not got the paper peer-reviewed. He's put it up on social media. He has used the university's name. The university has said very clearly that he should have got it peer-reviewed, used the university's name, and that is wrong. So what is the big deal? Professor says is correct. He's not peer-reviewed. Now, if he wants to put up a paper in his individual name, that is fine. He used the university name. Like the professor told you now, don't use the university name.
No. Praveen Chakravarti is saying that this is the part of the problem is corporates who run these private universities or indeed corporates who run edutech portals like Unacademy are under pressure. They want to toe the government line.
Look, Praveen is playing politics. That's total rubbish. If you look at who is the...
We know what you play every day.
No, Praveen, let him complete. I'll come back to you.
Look at who is the chancellor, who is the vice chancellor. They're all part of the managing committee. They're very reputed people. They've also agreed to this. They're given a university statement. And in case of that Unacademy, I mean, obviously, that person has made some comments. Obviously, Unacademy feels is outside the context and taken whatever action. There's a code of conduct. Now, he disputes the code of conduct. He disputes it, but the company does not agree. He can take it to court wherever it is. There's no assault on anybody. Let's not exaggerate. Radhi, there are 16 lakh faculty in colleges in this country. These incidents are going to happen once in a way. It doesn't mean the entire thing. Let me tell you, for all this ISC talk, in JNU, they shut out so many people from coming. General Bakshi was not allowed to come. Many people are not allowed to come. I don't think you stood up for academic freedom.
No, I stand up for campuses being spaces where we will hear General Bakshi and a Tista Settlewat. We should hear both.
Tista Settlewat is a controversial figure. If the university feels that it's not conducive, the university has a right. It is between the university and the faculty. Let them decide what is there. Many people have been shut out. You know that happen regularly.
Yeah, they shouldn't happen. They shouldn't happen. Just because they've happened in the past, they shouldn't happen. But let Mr. Balakrishnan wanted to intervene while you were speaking, Mr. Pai. Yes, Mr. Balakrishnan.
Thank you very much, Rajiv. I just want to say that the issue whether papers are peer-reviewed or not is not the question. The point, the merits of the paper is not for a university to decide. And therefore, I would say that actually faculty should be given as a norm, unconditional freedom to say what they think is correct on the basis of their research. And it is clearly pressure from government, which is making private and public institutions in general, all the instances you gave, from the Indian Institute of Science to a private institution, are all instances where these institutions are under pressure from government.
Those are strong words.
Rajiv,
Let's cut the chase. The truth of the matter is institutions, particularly in this case, of course, private institutions, but even government-funded institutions, academics don't have the kind of freedom that they have in the United States.
yes.
Why?
Tell me, Radhik.
Should we aspire to greater freedom?
Radhik,
Why
tell
not?
me, in
Why
the
not?
social science area across India for the last 40 years, it has been captured by the left. They shut out everybody else. Only one stream of thought is allowed. There's no clash of ideas. Has there ever been academic freedom fully in this country when the left was ruling?
So that's whataboutery. Mr. Pai, that's whataboutery because that happened in the 70s and 80s. We are going to do the same.
I'm giving you data.
No,
We don't have the academic freedom that America has. That is data.
Yes.
And that is the truth. All right? Our universities have been vitiated by ideology for far too long without being open system. Look at the vision of Jawaharlal Nehru when he set up JNU and look at what happens there today. We have to clean it up. We have to have academic freedom for everybody, subject to agreed norms. Let us have a code of conduct. They should have full freedom to publish. If they have to publish in a particular way, they have to follow. They should not release to social media and start a debate.
Okay.
Then they can do it in their own name and not use the university name. Nobody prevents anybody like professor coming and saying, I'm an individual, this is my view. Don't associate with any university. That is perfectly right. It's perfectly right. Once you say you're a professor, follow a protocol, agreed norms. Don't do it otherwise. That's all.
Okay, can I get Praveen to respond? Praveen, is that the way you see it, that this should be about norms? Let there be a clear code of conduct. No one can violate it.
First, Rajdeep, the question is, why should we not aspire to be among the best in the world? I mean, if you ask the Ashoka University management, the governing body today, they will absolutely tell you that we want to be one of the best in the world. So what is this rubbish that, no, we don't have academic freedom like the West, and so we should never have, and so in the last 30 years...
Praveen, stop lying, man. You never said never have and all that. Stop lying.
So all that is, we must, if we want to aspire to be... If we want to aspire to be the best,
no, let's not use words like lying and all. Let's listen to each other.
No, we must
please tell him to stop lying, Radhik. He's putting words in my mouth which I never said.
Academic freedom means the freedom to air whatever they say, not subject to some rules of that the corporate suits are laying out here, saying you have to do have it peer reviewed and all of that. That is not how the academic
professor said, Radhik.
No, but Praveen, the argument I think that Mohandas Pai made is that for a long time, when the left dominated in a way campuses, they didn't allow other views to be expressed. Now, Rajdeep, there's a balance being sought.
So we can argue till the cows come home whether what happened in the last 30 years or 40 years was right or wrong, or should there be correction now and all that. That is not the point. The point is Ashoka University wants to be the best in the world. The best liberal arts universities allowed for absolute freedom, subject to a broad condition of social peace and harmony. That did not happen in this case. There is no academic freedom in this country.
Okay, final words to all of you. Mohandas Pai, quick response to what you heard from Praveen.
Radhik, every university has a code of conduct and a protocol for publishing research, which carries the university's association. You have to follow that. When you join the university, you subscribe to that. You have to follow that. Okay. If you're in default, you have to pay the consequences. And I think that is something that you must respect. And if Ashoka University has that, he's been in contravention, he has to face it.
Okay.
I mean, you are not a free agent to do whatever you want, publish whatever you want. There's a protocol. Agree to the protocol.
Mr. Balakrishnan, Professor, do you believe there should be a protocol, a clearer protocol than exists at the moment across universities in this country? What is acceptable, what is not? Can you delve into politics and expect not to get a backlash?
It's not so much a matter of a code of conduct as much as a norm. And the norm is that you refrain from hate speech or defamation, but subject to that, you should have unconditional freedom to comment on the economy, the polity, or society.
Okay.
And if your work finds the respect of your peers, everybody, the government and the university leadership should accept it.
Okay. I think that's a very fair. Good to have a debate on this issue. I hope we can widen it further in the days and weeks ahead. Academic freedom is critical to building a better society. Allow our campuses to hear all kinds of thoughts. Left, right, center. Let's hear all of them. Praveen Chakravarti, Mohandas Pai, Professor Balakrishnan, appreciate your joining us.